Extremely Forward Soundbites is brought to you by PeterVanderbiltShop.com. In this episode, we feature the music of God Mode and Adam Simmons. Pete, Sandy, and Gate talk about a modern stupidity masquerading as empathy, shitting all over timeless beauty. And the team picks sides on the top 10 dad jokes. For questions, comments, suggestions, or to get involved with the show, visit extremelyforward.com.
Yeah, I gotta keep dreaming, gotta keep going. Yeah, I gotta keep pushing, gotta keep breathing. Yeah, I gotta keep working. Yeah, at least for the moment, I start with $1 million. And I want my mansion, so my family knows that we are set for life. Yeah, ain't nothing that's gonna take over. Shit, when they gonna take it, but I grab it. I'm a habit, I've been cutting my habits, so I gotta do it, man. I gotta know madness, cause I've been really putting, man. I want my status. Damn, they gonna see that I do this, they gonna see that I did this though. Now they say, oh shit, I can't do the same when you kidding, bro. Cause I spend my time just working, but I spend my time just grinding, but I spend my time in the studio with these lyrics, just combining, just fortune all these diamonds, cause I made it from far, and nobody believed it, but I showed them what I was.
Shit, that song makes me feel like I got street
You're
cred.
so gangsta.
You know what I mean, though? If you're feeling down and you need an upper, or you don't feel like going to gym, or someone pissed you off.
Get you right in the mood for a drive-by.
Totes.
Like, what would be your rap name?
Vanilla X. And guess what? You're my crew. What will we call you then, since you're trying to get me in trouble?
The cultural appropriators.
Yeah, you'd think poetry to a tune is kind of a universal thing, wouldn't you? Gabe, sounds like somebody's been drinking too much of that Kool-Aid. You know what advice I'd give you? Don't you, Gabe? The same Arnold would.
I say, don't be a girly man.
That's the one. So, Sandy, what do we have to talk about today?
We're talking about something worse than censorship.
Ooh, ew, that's no fun. What could be worse than censorship? Censorship is the worst.
Yeah, but at least you can find banned books and still read the original text. There is indeed something worse, and it's sensitivity readers.
Yeah, that is worse, because it actually alters the work. If you censor something, it's hidden and you can find it again. Maybe you have to hide it real well because you're in some awful hellhole dystopia. But you can find it again one day, and on that fine day, when you're free at last, hallelujah, sensitivity readers, on the other hand, they shit all over the original. And the thing with that is that it doesn't wash out. Oh man, this is bumming me out. Can we talk about something else first? Get me lubed up so I can cope.
Dad jokes. We need to do like a top 10 for the algos.
Yay, let's do that.
Cool, you start.
Okay. If I combine the DNA of a possum, a billy goat, and a mammoth, is that a possibility?
That actually physically hurts.
Okay, it's good. But, what kind of building has the most stories? A library.
Don't talk to me, either of you.
Well, critics are eunuchs in a harem, so it's easy to sit there and proclaim, on the efforts of others. Get in the ring.
Okay. How about why should you never date tennis players?
No, why?
Because love means nothing to them.
What do you call a funny mountain? Hill areas.
Okay, I went to a silent auction, and I won a dog whistle and 2 mimes.
Why do ducks have so many tail feathers? To cover up their butt quacks?
Now, what do you call a sheep who can sing and dance? Lady Baba.
Okay, we need to pivot.
What?
No, that's it. Not a joke. I hate this.
We have to move forward.
Come on, we love dad jokes.
Yeah, why did the old man fall down the well? He couldn't see that well.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I found a book called How to Solve 50% of Your Problems, so I bought 2.
Did you hear about the kid napping at school? It's fine, he woke up.
We have to move forward.
Did you hear the one about a generation so conceited, arrogant, and entitled that not only do they think that everybody in the present must tiptoe around their pathetic personal issues, but everyone in the past, even renowned savants and genius artists and wordsmiths, must be adapted to coddle to their sensitivities?
Fuck, you know what? That was a great pivot.
Pretty good, yeah.
Excellent. I gotta admit. Okay, let's get into it.
Censorship does suck, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is, it never works, right? I mean, I don't think any censored book in history has ever completely managed. So unless you destroy it like all the copies, but in the internet era, that's not even a possibility. You can't really get rid of a book. Take like, I read, take like I read about the Richard Dawkins book, The God Delusion. It's like the canonical King James Bible of atheism, right? And it's obviously banned in Saudi Arabia, and there's like 3 million copies that have been downloaded there.
Yeah, the thing with censorship is, though, that the word itself has been redefined to fit political agendas, right? So a lot of folks are whining about censorship, and censorship is bad. It's never okay. And the books you find at the top of the list of banned books or censored books or challenged books, to use the weasel word term, it includes some of the greatest works of art ever written down. To Kill a Mockingbird, 1984, Huck Finn, right? So yeah.
A lot of those are conservatives, right?
Yeah, there is a lot of censorship going on because of the so-called right wing, but the left wing does more than their fair share. I mean, I know the narrative is that it's right-wingers out to take your freedom. But take To Kill a Mockingbird. Gavin Newsom did this PR stunt. It's a governor of California. He did this PR stunt where he posed with a copy of To Kill a Mockingbird, and he asked the question, what are conservatives so afraid of? But it turns out that the reason that Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird was actually banned in some California schools were because a bunch of lefties found too much racism in it.
But that's the point to the book.
Sure, but there's this growing idea that people must be protected from ideas rather than taught how to out-reason bad ideas or how to battle test their own hypotheses.
Okay, but I mean, the right does censor books.
Absolutely. Well, I grew up, as you know, during the battle days when there was full-blown satanic panic going on. And everything was from the devil. I mean, at least anything popular was immediately seen as being from the devil. So, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Satan. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Satan. Little Mermaid, obviously Satan, but okay, sometimes they got it right. But yeah, there was this idea that these plastic toys printed in Taiwan was like a portal to the other side or whatever. And in that kind of environment, we had moms campaigning against J.R. Tolkien and fantasy books and Dungeons and Dragons. And the idea was, with those folks, it's the same as when it comes from the other side. It's this demand for complete ideological purity. What it really is, I think, is an admission that, well, my religion, my politics, my belief system, my ideology is so shit that it can't compete in the open marketplace of ideas. And whenever I hear those kinds of demands, I personally see a little target appear right over its soft little heart and think of it as my duty to nuke it, like to hell and gone.
Right.
But,
Oh.
So James Fishback wrote this article in the Free Press last year. And he, for example, he looked at the library catalogs of 35 of the largest public school districts in 8 red states and in 6 blue states. And he looked at like 4,600 individual schools. And he found that it's actually only the left side of the story, more often than not, that gets told. It's a great article. I mean, he found like Ibram X. Kendi's bullshit diatribe was in 42% of the schools, but John McWhorter's book, Woke Racism, a far better book by a far more serious human being, was only in one of them. And that's preposterous, Or like he found that Barack Obama's memoirs was in 75% of the schools. Michelle Obama's was in 65% of the schools. Meantime, there was 0% of Republican or right-leaning memoirs of any governors or Congress people or whatever. So yeah, the idea that book censorship is a thing of the right is just objectively not true.
Hold up, though. I saw like a short video on Facebook or YouTube or TikTok or something about some school district where the parents went batshit over some LGBTQ books.
Again, like I said, I'm sure the right censors. But also, again, just to play angel's advocate here, not every intervention in the presence of books is necessarily unreasonable censorship. I mean, listen, I write some dark shit myself, okay? I mean, Better Angels is a pretty demented work. Some of my books and stories have had a lot of explicit details or graphic depictions or shocking scenes or subversive ideas or whatever. But I don't pretend I'm writing books for kids. You know, and you go into some junior schools, like early, preteen places, and they wanted to, in fact they did, place George Johnson's All Boys Aren't Blue. Now, here's a passage from that book, right? And this is available to kids who aren't, like, 13 yet. I put some lube on and got him on his knees, and I began to slide into him from behind. I pulled out of him and kissed him while he masturbated. He asked me to turn over while he slipped a condom on himself. This was my ass, and I was struggling to imagine someone inside me. He got on top and slowly inserted himself into me. It was the worst pain I think I ever felt in my life. Eventually, I felt a mix of pleasure with the pain. Now that's bullshit. That's not for kids. That's plain and simple bullshit. And anyone advocating this for kids, I mean, there's a difference between being a book-burning Nazi bigot and expecting just age-appropriate reading. So the worst thing, anyone who objected was painted as if they were some sort of unreasonable, hateful, phobe person. I came out at an early age, and I was kicked out of home for that. So I know what it's like to be a young, scared person who doesn't quite fit the mold of so-called normality. But reading that would not have made me a better person. It wouldn't have benefited me in any way. And it sure as fuck doesn't benefit any other kid. Read it for the kicks, read it for the kinks, you know, read it for the touching storyline, aside from the porn, if you can find it. You know, good for you and Godspeed, but, you know, spare me the hysterics and keep it away from the grade schoolers. That's not too much to ask. Surely that's not unreasonable.
Yeah, censorship sucks. But not everything called censorship is censorship. That's a fair point. So now on to sensitivity readers.
Well, and also the word might mean different things. You know, they say write what you know, but that's sort of true, but it's also not.
Well, I know what you mean there. I mean, I wrote a scene the other day where this chick was shot, and I wanted to describe the pain she was feeling. Now, I've never been shot, so that means what? I can't write the scene?
So what did you do?
I remembered like the worst toothache I ever had, and I put it on my tummy instead of in my mouth, and I wrote about that.
Genius. That's it, exactly. That's how it's done. You blend what you do know, what you have experienced, with what you need to write.
Seems obvious, right? It's the same thing with this whole you can't possibly imagine what someone from a different background has gone through, so you can't write about them. I mean, that pretty much removes most of humanity out of my mandate to write about.
And that's true, and things can get silly, but look, I'll make a qualified allowance here. You don't need to know what you write or who you write, right? You don't have to be what your character is necessarily, or all my books would be about slightly aged, big-boned English writers sitting behind their desks in Devon making shit up, and that wouldn't be an exciting read, right? But there could be a use for a reader who knows the reality on the ground if you're going to get very specific. So, for example, I'm not deaf, right? And I might want to write a character who is deaf. But deaf is not just a thing, it's also a subculture. Deaf people have their own subculture. They have a whole world. And if you're going to do it justice, and if you're going to do justice to the truth of storytelling, you best not leave out the fullness of things and just make up some orb shit. Learn some sign language. hang out with some deaf folks, make some new friends, enter their world. And it's the same thing with anything else that you're going to do that's specialist. If you're going to have a Russian character, do her justice. Don't make her a cartoon or a caricature. The same would apply if you write about a white male generic, though. You want characters that read authentically because the feeling that you put into writing them are authentic. And there is nothing authentic about stereotypes and cliches. So if you're going to be writing about someone who's very specific and you want to pass that by someone who knows their stuff, but better than that would be to know the stuff yourself. But this idea that you can't have a black or a gay or a female or an Indian or whatever character because you're not one is absolute and utter nonsense.
That's where the sensitivity reader thing becomes crazy. At that very moment where everything is a struggle between different groups.
That intersectional nonsense they love so much in their commie classrooms, yeah. That's the idea that the whole world and history is a fight between the oppressor and the oppressed. It's the death of creativity. It's the death of authenticity. It kills color. It kills individuality. And we, as writers, as artists, must not stand
like
for
when
it.
they changed Roald Dahl's book.
Oh, God, yes. I mean, sure. There are things I may not dig about Roald Dahl. I mean, I think I read somewhere, and again, I don't know the man. I read somewhere that he was an anti-Semite, right? So I understand he doesn't like Jews so much. So if you know anything about me, you know that that's the polar opposite of me. But I don't think you can alter Roald Dahl's words. I think let him make his case, let him make his point, and we can see who agrees and who disagrees, you know. Because that's the thing, we couldn't be more opposed, but to read Roald Dahl doesn't threaten me. You know, I can be exposed to his ideas, even if they are truly abhorrent, which, frankly, I haven't come across in his work. Okay, I just heard about things, but at least not the bits I've read, okay? And I've read many things I find offensive, even reprehensible, but if I start editing the work to fit in with me, I deny everybody else at every point in the future the ability and the right and the opportunity to fight their own intellectual battles and to make up their own minds. That's a sin worse than censorship.
Sorry, guys, we have to go.
Quick summary.
I think it's up to the writers. It calls for bravery from writers. If agents or editors or critics or gatekeepers are going to be them picked, weak-kneed softies about it, then it's us, it's we that have to stand up. I know when you're just starting out, you'll do anything for a break, okay? But I don't think you should compromise on this. I think you should stand with integrity. I'm not talking about being a prima donna. If an editor says, you know, change this in the book, it's going to sell better, or an agent says, let's go here instead of there, that's fine. You've got to be open for criticism, critique, okay? But if they're going to wokeify your stuff, you should say no. And especially in contracts, when they're going to wokeify your stuff if you're already dead, I think it's disgusting. I think it might be your name on what you write then, but it will actually be the words of some spineless, purple-haired jellyfish from some applied Marxism class. And that's going to be what they read. And I say no. If you're going to publish my work, you do so as it is, as it was intended to be. You don't change my words, especially not after the fact, period. So we have to be strong, and we have to do that, or we're going to lose all intellectual liberty. And with that, that's my rant over. So without censoring the words of this song, this is as we found it. This is as the artist intended it. Let's listen to this on our way out.
Till next time, take care of yourself and each other.
Sunset on the canyon road, one arm out my window, left and didn't tell a soul. Where I'm headed, I don't know. Life is heavy lately, Nothing seems to go my way these days. I feel the season changing, and I think it's about time I close my eyes and let it take me somewhere new tonight. Wherever the wind blows, I'll go. I'm not chasing it. Whatever tomorrow's gonna hold, I'll find my way. I've been spending so much time swimming up against the tide. Wherever the wind blows, I know it's better than where I've been. Moonlight on a back road drive, the last breath of late July. Watch the days turn into nights, but none of them were ever mine. Life is heavy lately, and good things can never stay that way. Feel the season changing, and I think it's about time to realize